On a quiet autumn morning, the city of Portland moved slowly under a pale sky. Coffee shops opened their doors. Cars hummed along wet streets. Inside a small apartment overlooking the river, Ahmad sat alone at the kitchen table. A cup of coffee cooled between his hands. Across from him rested a folded envelope he had not opened yet. The room felt unusually still, as if the walls themselves were waiting. Ahmad had always believed life changed with loud moments, arguments, accidents, celebrations. But that morning he would learn that sometimes life changes in silence forever and without warning. Ahmad had not slept well for weeks. His mind wandered through unfinished thoughts and quiet worries. His wife, Hasaan, moved slowly in the bedroom down the hall. She was 7 months pregnant, and every step she took seemed careful and deliberate. Ahmad told himself he was stressed because of work. He repeated that excuse so often it almost sounded true. Yet deep inside, he knew the tension in the apartment had another source. Secrets have a strange weight. Even when unspoken, they settle into rooms like dust and patient shadows on quiet evenings without anyone noticing at first or ever. For nearly a year, Ahmad had been living 2 different lives. One was the life everyone saw. In that life he prepared a nursery, attended doctor visits, and spoke kindly to his pregnant wife. The other life existed in quiet corners of the city. It appeared in late messages and hidden meetings. That second life revolved around a woman named Emily. Emily was bright, confident, and impatient with ordinary rules. She believed Ahmad loved her enough to leave everything behind. Ahmad never corrected that belief even when silence slowly built fragile hopes between them every passing day and quiet night. Emily lived across town in a modern building filled with glass and steel. From her balcony she could see the lights of downtown flicker every evening. She liked beautiful things and clear promises. To her, life was simple. If love existed, it should be chosen openly. If happiness waited somewhere else, a person should walk toward it. Ahmad admired that certainty. Yet he never told Emily how complicated his world truly was. He never described the quiet patience of the woman who shared his home and the small steady kindness she carried through each silent day with gentle hope still. Hasaan was not loud or dramatic. She had a calm presence that filled a room gently. When she spoke, people listened because her voice carried quiet thoughtfulness. During the early months of pregnancy she smiled often, resting her hands over the growing life inside her. But something had changed recently. She watched Ahmad with thoughtful eyes, as if measuring distance that could not be seen. Ahmad noticed the change, yet he avoided asking questions. Some answers arrive whether we seek them or not, and sometimes truth waits quietly before stepping forward into the light of morning without warning or sound. One evening Ahmad returned home later than usual. The apartment lights were soft and warm. Dinner rested on the table, untouched. Hasaan sat near the window, looking out toward the river. The water moved slowly beneath the fading sunset. Ahmad felt a strange hesitation before speaking. He sensed the fragile stillness in the room. Hasaan turned calmly and studied his face. Then she gave a small, polite smile. It was the kind of smile strangers exchange, not the smile of a wife waiting for her husband after long quiet hours alone by the window watching evening shadows slowly grow outside. They ate dinner quietly. Forks touched plates with soft sounds. Outside, distant traffic whispered along the streets. After a while, Hasaan reached for a small folder beside her chair. She placed it gently on the table. Ahmad looked at it without understanding. The folder seemed ordinary, yet the air around it felt heavy. Hasaan folded her hands over her stomach and spoke in a steady voice. She said she had filed for divorce that morning. Ahmad blinked slowly, certain he had misunderstood the calm quiet certainty resting inside her patient words that settled softly across the silent table between them. She explained everything without anger. Her voice never rose. She simply described what she had discovered over the past months. Phone records. Quiet messages. Small lies that slowly formed a pattern. Ahmad felt the ground beneath his certainty crumble. He had imagined dramatic confrontations, tears, and accusations. Instead he faced calm clarity. Hasaan told him she wished him no harm. She only wished for honesty and peace before their child arrived. The envelope on the table contained the legal documents waiting quietly for his understanding and the long consequences of hidden choices made during careless nights far away from home. When Ahmad finally opened the envelope, confusion deepened. The documents showed careful preparation. Months earlier, Hasaan had quietly protected their shared finances. Properties, savings, and investments were legally secured for her and the unborn child. The court had already reviewed the arrangement. Ahmad realized she had acted long before revealing the truth. The realization left him speechless. For the first time, he understood how closely she had been watching his life, and every small careless step he believed remained safely hidden inside ordinary passing days that once felt harmless and distant from consequence or memory or future regret or pain. Across the city, Emily waited in her bright apartment. She believed Ahmad would soon arrive with important news. For weeks he had promised that change was coming. She imagined freedom, shared mornings, and a future without secrecy. When Ahmad finally called, his voice sounded distant and hollow. He explained the divorce, the legal papers, and the assets that now belonged entirely to Hasaan. Emily listened quietly at first. Then the meaning reached her fully, like cold rain falling suddenly through an open window onto dreams she had carefully arranged inside her hopeful mind for many restless nights and bright mornings. Emily's certainty shattered. She had expected victory, not consequences. Her voice trembled as she asked the same question again and again. How could everything belong to Hasaan? Ahmad had no comforting answer. The truth was simple. His wife had been patient, observant, and prepared. Emily's anger slowly turned into helpless disbelief. She realized the future she imagined had never truly existed. It had been built entirely on promises that carried no foundation beneath their shining surface of borrowed hope and fragile expectations that now drifted away like smoke in cold evening air beyond her reaching hands tonight alone again in. Days passed quietly after the announcement. Ahmad moved through his routine like a visitor inside his own life. He packed boxes, signed documents, and answered careful questions from lawyers. Hasaan remained calm throughout the process. She focused on preparing the nursery and attending her medical appointments. Sometimes they shared short conversations about practical matters. Those conversations were polite and steady. Yet beneath them rested the quiet ending of a marriage once built with hopeful promises spoken years earlier under warm summer lights and patient belief that love would remain simple forever despite changing hearts and hidden choices made later in. One afternoon Ahmad paused outside the nursery door. Inside, Hasaan arranged small folded blankets in a wooden crib. Sunlight filled the room with soft warmth. She looked peaceful, almost serene. Ahmad felt an unfamiliar heaviness in his chest. For the first time he saw the quiet strength that had always lived beside him. It had never demanded attention, yet it had endured everything. In that moment he understood something simple and painful about patience, loyalty, and the silent courage required to protect a future when trust slowly breaks beyond repair and still life continues forward for the sake of tomorrow. Emily, meanwhile, faced a different reality. Her apartment still glowed with city lights, but the brightness felt empty. She replayed every conversation with Ahmad, searching for moments where truth might have appeared. Instead she found only charming uncertainty. The man she trusted had never truly belonged to her world. Gradually her anger softened into quiet exhaustion. Dreams can break loudly, but sometimes they fade slowly, leaving a person alone with uncomfortable clarity and long silent nights wondering how hope turned into lessons she never expected to learn during ordinary days that once felt certain and bright before everything gently disappeared. Winter arrived gradually over the city. Rain tapped softly against windows and rooftops. Ahmad moved into a smaller apartment across town. The quiet there felt different from the silence he left behind. It was emptier, filled with reflection. Sometimes he walked along the river at dusk, thinking about choices that seemed small when they were made. He understood now how easily ordinary moments can shape entire futures without warning or noise, beyond the gentle turning of time through patient seasons, carrying every decision forward into lives that slowly unfold beyond control or easy repair again for anyone who once believed. Months later, the day of the child's birth arrived quietly. Snow rested along the hospital windowsills. Ahmad waited in a hallway chair, uncertain if he belonged there. When the nurse finally invited him inside, he stepped carefully into the room. Hasaan held their newborn daughter in her arms. The baby slept peacefully, wrapped in a white blanket. For a moment the past seemed distant and the quiet future waited gently in the small steady breathing of new life beginning softly, beyond regret, beyond anger, beyond every mistake carried through the long uncertain road that brought them here today together again. Hasaan looked at Ahmad with calm eyes. She allowed him to hold the baby for a few minutes. Ahmad felt the fragile warmth of his daughter resting against his chest. In that quiet moment he understood responsibility in a deeper way than before. Life was continuing, regardless of past mistakes. The child deserved peace, honesty, and stability. Those things could still be built, slowly, through patience, humility, and steady effort offered day after day, without excuses, without pride, and without forgetting the lessons carved gently into memory by loss and unexpected truth revealed during difficult turning points in ordinary human. Outside the hospital, snow continued to fall gently. The world looked quiet and clean beneath the white sky. Ahmad walked outside after the visit, breathing the cold air slowly. His life was smaller now, but it felt clearer. The complicated illusions had faded. What remained were simple truths about loyalty, patience, and consequence. Those truths carried weight, yet they also carried direction toward a calmer future where honesty might grow slowly like winter light returning after long silent nights, that teach careful hearts how fragile trust can be and how precious second chances remain when humility opens quiet doors again. Across town, Emily packed her apartment. The city lights no longer felt welcoming. She planned to move to another state and begin again somewhere unfamiliar. The lesson had been harsh but clear. Love cannot grow in borrowed shadows. It must stand openly or fade away. Emily closed her final suitcase and looked around the empty room, remembering bright expectations that once filled every quiet corner, with hopeful plans and patient belief in promises she thought were strong enough to reshape another person's life and future. But truth had waited silently until reality finally stepped forward with steady, unavoidable clarity tonight. Years later the story would feel quieter than it once seemed. Lives continued in different directions, shaped by choices made long ago. Hasaan raised her daughter with steady care. Ahmad remained present as a father, learning slowly how to rebuild trust through actions rather than promises. The past could not be changed, yet its lessons guided them forward toward calmer days where quiet responsibility replaced careless dreams and patience slowly repaired small broken spaces inside ordinary family life that continued growing gently through seasons of forgiveness, effort, reflection, and quiet understanding about love, loyalty, and consequence in every passing year. On certain evenings Ahmad would watch his daughter play beside the river park. The child laughed easily, unaware of the complicated path that shaped her life. Hasaan often sat nearby on a wooden bench, reading quietly. Their conversations were simple and respectful. Time had softened many sharp edges. Trust did not fully return, but understanding slowly grew in its place like patient grass rising again after winter frost, reminding them that healing rarely arrives quickly yet still moves forward through gentle days shared without bitterness and without forgetting the lessons written quietly inside earlier pain and long reflection beside calm. Sometimes Ahmad remembered the quiet morning when the envelope waited on the kitchen table. That silent moment had changed every path ahead. At the time it felt like an ending. Years later he understood it had also been a beginning. Life often reveals truth through stillness rather than noise, because calm clarity allows hidden realities to appear gently before human hearts can deny them again and again in hopeful imagination that once protected comfortable illusions about love, loyalty, and the quiet strength of people who watch patiently while preparing careful steps toward justice, peace, and future stability for their children. For Hasaan, the future had always centered on the small life she carried during those difficult months. Her calm decisions were never about revenge. They were about safety, dignity, and the quiet promise she made to protect her child. That promise guided every choice she quietly prepared during lonely evenings while listening to distant city traffic and feeling the steady movement of new life growing beneath her patient heart, reminding her that courage sometimes appears not as anger but as thoughtful preparation for tomorrow and the long peaceful future every child deserves to inherit with stability, hope and gentle certainty. Emily also carried the memory of that turning point. Though painful, it pushed her toward honesty with herself. She eventually built a quieter life, guided by clearer boundaries and deeper understanding. The past remained a teacher she never ignored because difficult lessons often reveal the difference between hopeful illusions and steady truths that support lasting relationships built slowly through honesty, respect and mutual responsibility rather than excitement alone beneath bright city lights that once promised happiness without demanding patience, humility or careful attention to the hearts involved in every quiet promise spoken during ordinary evenings of fragile human hope. And in the end, the story was not about victory or defeat. It was about the quiet power of patience and truth. A pregnant wife had chosen dignity over anger. A husband had learned the cost of careless promises. A mistress had discovered the difference between dreams and reality. Life moved forward for all of them, steady and calm. And somewhere in that calm, a child grew up surrounded by lessons that would guide her toward wiser choices, gentle strength, patient honesty and quiet courage whenever life presented difficult crossroads where truth must stand calmly beside love and future hope always.